What is up, everybody? Hope you guys enjoyed that intro. That's NASCAR 25. That was one of my first ever victories on the game. It is out now officially for everybody on console, on I believe the new next gen Xbox, the next gen PS5, which is PS5, and the PC as well. Fun game, fun times. Thankfully, I got some early access to it. So I've been playing it for about 4 to 5 days now, but certainly some exciting stuff. Hopefully, everybody's able to get the game, play the game. Big week, big time for NASCAR with that video game coming out. We haven't had a good video game in a while. A lot of people have admitted. So excited to see that out. We got Talladega coming up. We just came off of certainly an eventful weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Championship stakes are on the line, both for the Xfinity Series and for the Cup Series. Now we go to Talladega for the first time in the round of 8 for all three of these series, for the Truck Series, for the Xfinity Series, for the Cup Series. Certainly chaos is going to be on the table, as the third last race of the season is one of the most treacherous super speedways of the year. So certainly excited for that. We have a guy that's racing in that race as well. It's been a while since we've been able to slide my man in here, and I am seeing him for the first time since I was on his couch about a few weeks ago in Mooresville, North Carolina, repping the Rick Ware Racing shirt, who are in the hunt for the Owners' Championship in the PLM Series that I'm sure we can note on before the show is over. But first of all, how we doing, Mason?
I'm good. I am tired. Been still trying to adjust to the West Coast times, being out in Vegas this past weekend. But no, we're excited to be back on the show. Definitely been a couple of odd weeks. Been missing my Tuesday Motor Stardom show days. So I'm pumped to be back. We got a good bit to talk about with the playoffs and obviously an exciting weekend at Talladega coming up. You can't miss it.
Yeah, exactly. Charlotte was a great time for me. Didn't officially have a show last week. Kind of got to post a best of the Motor Stardom show for the year. If you haven't checked that out, everybody go check that out. Charlotte was a great time. I was in Charlotte. This is post weekend. It was a great time to be there for the Roval weekend. The track is spectacular. The area is spectacular. Even the food, man, around the area is spectacular. Even the Concord Mills Waffle House is spectacular as well.
Absolutely.
Then I found myself on a detour over in Jacksonville on my way home at Everbank Stadium to watch the Jaguars and Chiefs, which was an absolutely fun time. But nonetheless, had a spectacular time over there in Charlotte, and certainly can't wait to go back. Possibly, looks like here in a few weeks, to go to Martinsville. I was thinking that Charlotte was going to be my last trip of the year, but I will now get to go to Martinsville, to get to go to the Paperclip for the first time. And I hear that Checkered Flag Dan is going to Martinsville.
Oh,
and he
baby.
will be there to cheer on Mason Maggio. Checkered Flag Dan, great to hear from you again. It's been a few weeks, man. We've had some weeks off from the show, so great to hear from you. Hope you're doing well, and we will certainly get to see you at Martinsville, because Mason will be there. I'll be there. We'll be chowing down hot dogs, and maybe we'll be able to chow down a hot dog with you. So looking forward to that. We got Talladega this weekend. Let's take a look at the Cup Series standings before we kind of break into anything here. We got a great episode ahead. We got Jesse Iwuji joining us later, who I guess is Mason Maggio's, you can say, is Mason Maggio's team owner this weekend, I guess. But we look at the Cup Series point standings here. Denny Hamlin's able to get himself a win, clutches up, right, soars through the field late in the race to be able to get himself into the Final Four once again in his career, right? Has had a lot. I don't know what the total number is of Final Four appearances for Hamlin, but it's certainly a good amount. But then the other storylines to look at here, Kyle Larson, right? Pretty good on points. Had a great day at Vegas. Christopher Bell as well. Chase Briscoe, look at that. A guy that maybe people didn't think was going to get this far. He is certainly one of the top teams in the series right now, has been the last few weeks. But, then you look at the guys under the cut line. William Byron's a little bit of trouble after he ran into Ty Dillon and that scary accident there late in the race. Chase Elliott minus 23. Joe Logano, not a fantastic race. Kind of came into this round behind the 8-ball, right, at minus 24. And then Ryan Blaney, having a tire issue and slamming into the wall. His race ends at minus 31. Is there anything that stands out to you most kind of about this 8 here? Maybe somebody that you think is really in trouble or somebody that you think is, really secure that you didn't think would be there?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've talked about on the show. Chase Briscoe really just has done a phenomenal job this year. Is shown that hey, I belong here, and this opportunity, I'm going to excel with it. And I think, like you said, he's surprising a lot of people with being in that fourth spot right there. And I'd be curious to see if he makes it to the final four. Obviously, Denny Hamlin's coming on strong still. Has been incredibly consistent. Has been in a great position pretty much all year. Has been winning races here and there and doing what he needs to do. Logano, not really a surprise. I mean, he just barely made the cusp at the Roval. I'd say he got lucky with what happened to Charlotte, but 22 teams definitely got to step it up if they're wanting to, defend their championship from last year. And then Ryan Blaney, another one that it was unfortunate that he had his tire issue, but that's another team that needs to kind of step up. I feel like they're a little bit inconsistent at times. When they have the speed, they have the opportunities to put it together, but the problem is it's just things happen out of their control, like the tire issue, or they'll have things on pit road, or their execution isn't maybe quite there at times. I feel like Blaney's, and I hate to say it because I think Ryan Blaney's a great race car driver, but I feel like there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda out of that 12 camp where they should have won races, but for whatever reason don't. So, I mean, they definitely got to step up if they want to be able to make the final four for sure. Talladega is a good track for Blaney. Has a couple wins there. Has been known. I feel like he's becoming the new king of the plate tracks in a sense. Always finds himself up front, always finds himself in a good spot there at the end. So I think Talladega could be that rebound opportunity. And then Chase Elliott is another one that I think kind of needs to step up a little bit. He's close, but he's just needing that little bit more in order to get to the next round. But yeah, I think too, Bell is another one that we need to talk about. I feel like Bell is a driver that kind of falls under the radar sometimes, but has done a good job executing. Is silently consistent is what I like to call, where you don't really talk about him that much, but then you look down the running order and you're like, oh yeah, he's in the picture. He's just not talked about that much. But I think Christopher Bell is honestly a star on the rising, and I think he's going to be talked about way more as we move forward. But he's a guy that I could see potentially making the round of four.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's always somebody that I somewhat pencil in. I believe my final four was Hamlin, Larson, Bell, Byron, I believe. Or no. It was Hamlin, Bell, Blaney, Byron. I think I'd have to look back at what my graphic was. Either way, I had Byron as a champion at the beginning of the playoffs, but we'll see how that shakes out. Obviously, after the big incident, you see the moment of impact here. Absolute insanity. As William Byron did not know Ty Dillon was coming to pit road at all. Didn't see a hand from his perspective. Didn't hear anything from the spotter. No spotter communication. He drove right into him. Absolutely bizarre crash that we almost saw a few times. I saw on Twitter today somebody pull up. I don't know if you saw SVG. It's on board sometime middle of the race during green flag pit stops. Michael McDowell was coming down and was entering pit road kind of middle of the racetrack, and SVG almost T-boned right into him, just like this crash right here. So certainly a lot of issues happen that set back some of those guys below the cut line. But as we see here for the first time, we're going to Talladega in the final round. So certainly Joe Logano can just win that race and get in. Ryan Blaney can win that race and get in. It'll be certainly very interesting to see what happens in that regard. I want to kind of segue a little bit in here before we finish up with some more Vegas and move on to Talladega and our guest Jesse Iwuji tonight. Some headlines. One of them that came out today: Justin Haley will not be returning to Spire Motorsports in 2026. This is something that we had talked about on the show a while back. That was a possibility. Rumors have tossed around of Spire kind of looking to see some improvement, and if they don't, basically moving on. Spire Motorsports is shown to be a team that is not afraid to make a move if they feel like it will benefit them on the racetrack as well as from a business perspective. Hence last year, for really, one of the only Cup teams ever in recent memory to just flat out make a move, right? Get Corey LaJoie out of there, bring Justin Haley in. And it also speaks volumes that they went all that way to bring Justin Haley in. And now after a year, they are already moving on from that driver. So from what we know, a likely favorite of this ride is Daniel Suarez. To me, that does make a lot of sense. Keeping Daniel Suarez in the Chevrolet camp, I feel that's somewhere that he certainly wanted to stay, but also certainly a very valuable asset, especially for a team looking to, right around the middle of the pack, looking to grow. Somebody that is certainly going to bring sponsorship, certainly going to bring eyes, but certainly can also be able to manage some good finishes. Not the year he's wanted, not the last 2 years he's wanted for Trackhouse Racing, but maybe he can, find another spark at Spire Motorsports. We'll see. But nonetheless, Justin Haley is out. He will be looking for a ride next year. Is this something you feel like was brewing, or are you shocked by this move?
No, it's definitely been brewing, and I think we've covered it before on the show when we've talked about silly season and who's going here, what team is bringing on this driver and things like that of that nature. And unfortunately, Justin just hasn't had the year or the success that I think any of us thought he was going to have compared to the success that he had at Rick Ware's last year or with Colleague in the last couple of years on the Cup side. And it's something that's kind of been brewing for a good chunk of the year. And I mean, I hate to say it, but the only time that I heard Justin Haley's name being brought up this year was at Daytona when he was in position to potentially win the race. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out for him. But that's the only time that I ever heard Justin's name being mentioned in a high regard. And it's a shame because he is a good race car driver. He's proven to be a good race car driver. But unfortunately, it's just chemistry must have not been there or something along the lines in-house. And I mean, like, for example, Rodney Childress was supposed to be his crew chief this year, and that quickly died out before it even started, I feel like. So obviously something wasn't right over there for either party, and they felt like it was good to part ways. And like I said, I feel like Justin is a great race car driver and is going to land somewhere where I feel like he's going to be embraced. And I feel like the more he's embraced, the more he's going to show where his talents are. And realistically, when you look at Spire, and the powerhouse teams, right, as far as who's kind of leading that train, obviously it's the 77. The 71's kind of right there in the middle. And then unfortunately there was the 7 of Justin Haley just kind of there. So obviously it, even with LaJoie, I felt like it wasn't the opportunity, that those guys are wanting. So hopefully Justin lands at a good spot in the Cup Series. I feel like he's very much capable of being in a good spot. He's shown that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with if he's got the right opportunity. And I think Suarez would be a good choice. Obviously, there's a ton of Xfinity guys that are eager to move up to Cup as well. So that's something that I feel like we got to put into the equation, right? Austin Hill has expressed eagerness to jump in the Cup, and several others. So be curious to see what is going to come out of that 7 camp as far as what their lineup's going to look like for next year. But definitely not a shock, but somebody that I certainly hope we see back in a ride competitively in Cup in the future.
Yeah, 1,000%. So, I mean, as I've said a lot of the time, it's, I think the Cup Series is too competitive. Teams are too competitive for you to be satisfied with somebody who's doing mediocre in your car, and you got to move on. Wood Brothers obviously moving on from Harrison Burton was something that needed to happen, and it was a fantastic decision. Get Josh Berry, wins the race, makes the playoffs. So we've seen teams be able to move on from these types of drivers. Which teams make the moves and which teams don't. I think that really, in this next gen era, if you're going to try and outperform Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports, right, or Penske on a given weekend, that is certainly something that you need to do and not be afraid to make these types of moves. So a move that was made in the Xfinity Series, kind of a little bit more out of left field, but maybe also something that was brewing for a while. For the second time in his career, Matt Benedetto has been basically booted from his full-time ride here at the end of the season. This time, Viking Motorsports announces that they have parted ways with Benedetto and will be rolling with Connor Mozak for the rest of the year. Now, is this a hint for something Mozak will be doing in the future? We will see. That is yet to be officially determined, but nonetheless, this was something that drew a lot of eyes. Matt Benedetto, while seemingly maybe people aren't, bringing him up too much during the season, whenever there's a headline, certainly people are interested if it's about Matt Benedetto. But yeah, he won't be returning to Viking. It's been an interesting season for them, right? We were talking about this just between ourselves over when we were driving through Mooresville about where we felt like the expectations were for the 99 car, right? Because Viking kind of, they end up being the 38 for RSS Racing. They're in the Ford camp, and now they come over. Okay, now we're running Chevrolet. Viking Motorsports are doing a rebrand. What do we expect from the organization, right? What's the speed that we're expecting? We know Matt Benedetto is capable of driving race cars and driving them fast, but what kind of equipment is he in? So, a very small sample size here the rest of the season with Talladega, obviously, and then Martinsville and Homestead for Connor Mozak. But it's certainly an interesting maneuver, and there's probably got to be some other stuff behind it. I would assume we've seen teams make these moves where maybe if they've either found something else for next year, the team's found something else for next year, they're like, hey, why don't we get a head start on seeing what that maybe possibly will look like? I mean, even as far back as to when we were talking about Nice Motorsports on this show, with Caden Honeycutt deciding his future for the next year, and then they're like, all right, well, screw you, we're going to kick you to the curb, and see and evaluate our program and get ready for 2026. So this isn't as extreme as that, but certainly interesting. Matt Benedetto again is without a ride currently, at least officially, in NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, it's I feel like it's not covered enough. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. For as much as it is about racing, it's also very much a business. And if things don't align on the business side, you're going to see guys, parting ways or going different directions. And that's something we see, I feel like, a good bit. And unfortunately, Matt Benedetto is in that equation a lot. Obviously, has been proven to be a talent, is a race winner. I feel like is a good option to have whenever you have a startup program like Vikings deal. But obviously there's things behind the scenes that we don't know about, right? Where things don't align. It's unfortunate, but like you said, teams tend to want to get a head start and say, hey, this is what our future could look like. Let's get them in early and see if what that looks like. Let's get an evaluation. Let's build the chemistry sooner before we have the opportunity to really launch it. It's unfortunate, especially since this is the second time that we've seen something happen with Matt Benedetto. So obviously, there had to have been stuff brewing behind the scenes that we don't know about. But definitely a shame. But Connor Mozak, I feel like, is a good choice as he takes over the 99 the rest of the year. Be curious to see where they're going to be at. But yeah, I mean, unfortunate. But hopefully Matt can land a ride next year and put himself in a decent spot. But yeah, it's just the way it is. Unfortunately, this business is brutal. There's no question about that. And whether you love it or hate it, things happen, things change, and the sport keeps on rocking.
Yeah, a lot of people were puzzled as a track that he's technically won at before in the Truck Series, right? One of his best tracks.
Yeah.
And now he is out of a ride, unfortunately, and we'll see what he ends up doing next year. I mean, he was kind of in that limbo of not really racing, right? And then found Viking Motorsports as a home to get him back into the sport after no really other team was either interested or had the right deal for him. So certainly see if he was able to prove anything in that car and, gain any partnerships and maybe be able to take that elsewhere. And then keeping it in the Xfinity Series, DGM Racing has brought on this guy, Mason Maggio, to drive their number 91 car this weekend at Talladega. Mason Maggio is driven for Joey Gase Motorsports this year, most famously in the Xfinity Series. Also, some truck races for your own brothers racing. But now, the Florida man joins the Florida team for some Talladega racing in the 91. What do you think about this guy getting a shot at Talladega for a team that certainly has a very storied Xfinity Series tenure?
He's a hack. I don't know what we're doing. Why are we talking about this? I don't know. But no, definitely a cool deal. I've known the Goslin family and Mario and everybody over there for a couple of years now. I've been trying to put something together with them, and for a long time, and finally it was the right circumstance. Thankfully my partners at Dempsey had wanted to do Talladega again after we did it in the spring, and we had the opportunity to put something together that made sense finally. Mario had been calling me a couple times to come drive the 91, and I said, hey, you got Talladega open? If we can do it, let's do it. So we've had this plan for a long time now, but very thankful for the opportunity that they've given me. Looking forward to working with everybody over on the 91 crew, and big thank you to our partners at Dempsey and everybody involved. It's a cool opportunity. Excited to get to work with everybody on the 91, and hopefully we'll come home with another good result at Talladega.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, in the early part of the year, we were racing for Carl Long over there. Came home with a great result in the Dempsey car. So we know DGM is, certainly prides himself on super speedway racing, especially when we get down there to Daytona, obviously, but not going to shy away from, doing good at Talladega. So that will be interesting to see. One thing I want to talk about before we kind of move on to some other things is that Xfinity race at Las Vegas. I want to talk about the racing first, and then we'll get to the beef part. I don't know how many of you watched the race in its entirety, but the final laps, absolute cinema, like absolute cinema. Like the Xfinity Series puts on bangers every week. This is just some random screenshot I had in my camera. I didn't have any like videos, but if we were to go back and watch the videos of this race, I mean, Connor Zilic literally sideways chasing after Eric Almirola, not even losing significant time either, still there right in the hunt. I mean, taking you back to when Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson were battling in that famous overused Twitter clip on, of Atlanta, which still is obviously baller, by the way. But I mean, what an absolute show that those guys put on. I think Eric Almirola, but I'm really surprised at the hate comments on Twitter saying, man, this guy coming down from the Cup Series, he's not in the Cup Series. I mean, you can say the same about some other guys racing Xfinity and truck that used to race Cup. Now that's their full-time gig now, and he's not even full-time, right? He's just racing part-time. I think he adds such an awesome dynamic to the series. I think that's what makes part of the series fantastic, right? Is you have your young guys like, Connor Zilic, right? Your guys that we're watching, like a Sammy Smith, like a Sam Mayer, like a Jesse Love. But then you have your veterans, right? You have your Eric Almirolas, you have your Justin Allgaiers. I mean, Austin Hill at this point, we can even consider an Xfinity Series veteran or a NASCAR veteran that are going to bat with these guys. And I think that's what makes it really fun. And not to mention, obviously, all the stories throughout the field, the smaller teams, the A- teams, the B teams, shit, even the C+ teams, right? That's what makes the Xfinity Series so great, but also really just the racing product. I mean, that's like, let's keep it plain and simple, right? The preferred groove was the bottom and the middle lane, and if that was the case in the Cup Series car, we wouldn't have saw any passing, we wouldn't have saw any racing. But to have Eric Almirola, Connor Zilic, Jesse Love there up at the end, Nick Sanchez even throw, that was fantastic. Fantastic racing there to at the end, had me on the edge of my seat. But back to the Almirola point, I think it's awesome. I think him being in that series provides some great experience. He challenges these guys. He doesn't back down. Like, he doesn't just let them go. He's racing for wins. He's racing for the owners' points as well. He is in the owners' championship, and that means a lot to these team owners, especially with how crazy the driver standings are, right? The owners' championships, a lot of money. So Joe Gibbs Racing is hoping they come away with that. But, you were in that race, obviously. I'm sure you can attest to what the car felt like on the racetrack. Obviously, yours is going to feel different than them damn Joe Gibbs Racing hot rods, but
Yeah.
you were in an Xfinity Series car
Yeah.
on Las Vegas. Is there anything specific that you can say that maybe those guys were dealing with that you kind of would feel as well, as far as the handling, grip levels, etc.?
Yeah, definitely a little slick. There's times where I felt like tire wear, like with the right front tire, was kind of giving way a little quicker than usual. A lot bumpier than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be bumpy, but I didn't expect my head to be shaking back and forth like this a couple times as I'm getting through the corners. But no, I mean, it was really unique kind of seeing those guys battling towards the front and, essentially having to get out of their way at times and kind of having a front row seat for it. But man, I got to tell you, I think it's really unique what the Xfinity Series brings, and that is, your up and coming young guys and your veterans that have been to the top but have found a home in the Xfinity Series. And I feel like Eric Almirola is kind of, in that spot as well, where I think he's found a home at Joe Gibbs Racing and says, hey, if I'm going to go keep racing, I want to make sure that I'm in the best car possible. And he's obviously found a home and he's obviously made it work, and he's won races the last 2 years. So, and it's so unique seeing, veterans of the sport and the young guys going at it the way Zilich and Almirola were. It's so unique to see worlds collide, and obviously it puts on a show, right? Because you're seeing these, young, unexperienced guys get the opportunity to go out there and learn and showcase their talents, while, the old dogs are saying, hey, I still got it. I can still make it happen. And we've seen it happen before. So it was really cool. It's really cool kind of getting that mixed bag. And it's not just at the front of the field. It's also towards the rear of the field, particularly, where I'm at, right? Where I've battled against guys that have raced in multiple different series too. And I think that's the other unique part of the Xfinity Series is I think it attracts so many different drivers from so many different disciplines as well. And being able to race against so many different guys from so many different backgrounds. I feel like we see it more in the Xfinity Series than we do in the Cup Series and in the Truck Series. So I find that kind of unique, and that's what makes Xfinity racing so special, is because you have those different worlds colliding, and on top of that, the cars are just awesome. Like, there's no question there, and it provides a great racing product. That's why you're seeing Xfinity very, very close to surpassing Cup viewership. There's no question that it's on the cusp. It's the second most popular racing series in America. So, and I think it could come to the top at some point. Whether that's sooner or later, I don't know. But if we keep going at the rate that we're at, I would not be surprised if it surpassed Cup in viewership.
Well, apparently we're the third best as far as this weekend, because we lost to NHRA, which had 1.8 million viewers on Fox, on primary Fox, because NHRA gets the big network and we get relegated to the shitters. Anyways, fun race. Had some beef afterwards. I want to take a look at the clip in full audio because we don't have any bleeps on it.
We're racing. 19 have to do with me. We're racing for
what
the
does
win.
19 have to do with me?
We're racing for the win. Dude, you not see me almost wrecked down there with him? We're racing for the win. Dude, you're side drafting me. Everyone's side drafting me. We're racing.
I'm not going to side draft. I'm trying to pull my fucking door until we almost wipe out both of us. That's why you crash half these fucking races.
We're racing for touch him again. Touch him again.
Boom! He got him with the little mini shove at the end. Which, watching it back, I believe, because Nick tried to put his hand there and Jesse was not having it, obviously. As you can tell, Jesse Love was not happy with Nick Sanchez, not happy with the way he was being raced. And, I could tell Jesse Love was just not – you can tell when a driver is just not happy inside of a race car. And you knew that Jesse Love was not happy inside that race car in that last restart. Nothing that I can say anybody did really too wrong, right? Everybody's racing for the win. Everyone's racing for positions. Yes, as a Chevrolet teammate, Nick Sanchez could certainly, cut him a little bit more slack. I don't know exactly. They weren't showing the battle every single lap. Don't know everything that happened. Love was talking about riding his door, right? Maybe that's a little extreme, who, what. But Jesse Love more so, he was just pissed off. And it seemed like, number one, he was pissed off because he was getting raced hard and then getting passed. And he went from battling to the lead for battling for fifth. And number two, it seems like he doesn't like Nick Sanchez whatsoever. Because when you have something, when you have a run-in on the racetrack and the first thing that comes up in the interview is, well, that's what he always does, then, that is certainly something that has been brewing for a while. So I know before we get to finish that up, I don't know. Every time we throw somebody in here, I like to get their perspective on whatever we were just happening to talk about. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Jesse Iwuji. Welcome.
How's it going?
To the stream, my friend. How you doing? It's been a while.
Doing good. How's it going?
Doing good, man. I know we caught up in Daytona after the first race down there, and we'll talk about a few things after this. But did you get to watch the Xfinity race at Las Vegas this weekend? That's what we were kind of coming off of. We were talking about how fun the finish was, racing for the lead. We were talking about conflicts on pit road. Obviously, just like all of us, you're an Xfinity Series guy. How fun is it to watch that series each and every week? Not only just watch it, right? Be a fan when you are watching it, but be a part of it.
Yeah, no, being part of it is definitely awesome for sure. Like, to be fully transparent, for me personally, I actually don't really enjoy watching any of the races unless I'm in. Something in my head. It's like, if I'm not doing it, I don't want to watch anybody else doing it, unless I'm like physically there. So I actually don't watch a lot of the races on TV. And if I do, it's like because I was, maybe at a restaurant or something, and it's on and I'll catch it. But a lot of the times, like I cannot sit down and watch any kind of motorsport. Like, if I'm sitting and watching it, that means I should be trying to find a way to do it, whether it's going to a track day or, jumping on the sim or doing something. But like, to sit and watch, I'm wasting this time. Like, I should just be doing something at least somewhat near, the real life thing, so I can like try to get better versus just sitting and watching.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And honestly, I feel the same way sometimes. That's how I feel when I sit down and watch like football on Sundays. And like, even though I don't do too much of football, like I've covered some NFL games and things like that. And shout out to ESPN Radio for that. But like sometimes I sit there and I'm like, man, if I'm watching something, like I want to be a part of it. And I like that perspective.
Yeah.
Very eager perspective, like you want to be a part of something that you are taking in if you do so love it so much. And I mean, anytime that I'm certainly watching NASCAR race at home, obviously I have to, that's my job to cover the sport, right? But there's always going to be a part of me that's like, man, I wish I was there, so I mean, but thankfully, you have been a great part of this sport and a great part of the Xfinity series. I mean, how has this journey been this year? I mean, we know every year is a new beast for everyone in the industry, no matter what you do, right? You're going to take on something new every year, whether it's every month as well, every week, everything changes in this sport. But what has this year been like in your journey as far as, what you've already done and what you've been able to do this year?
Yeah, this year has been it's different. We've kind of tried something different this year by doing this partnership between our team and DGM, and helping them out with equipment and different things. In fact, I believe Honeyman he used our road course car that weekend for the Roval. The other weekend, I ran, obviously when I ran Talladega, I ran my own super speedway car when we. But anyways, coming together with DGM and just being able to support them however we can. It's been cool. It's been cool. Those guys over there are really great. Everybody's super nice, super awesome to work with in that team. It's been a pleasure. And, I've gotten out to the races that I can get out to. I live on the West Coast, and obviously because of my Navy stuff and all my other business stuff and other things. But, the races that I have been able to get out to, I've been able to get out to, then obviously ran Talladega. So, yeah, it's been a different year. Haven't done something like this before. Obviously the first year when we started our own team, we just did it by ourselves. The next 2 years after that, we're just kind of just running part-time. And then this year we figured out a way to partner up with DGM so we could, kind of be back at the track more often. So it's been cool. It's been great working with those guys, and just honestly really, really good group of people.
Yeah, and you talk about you racing in Talladega. The last person to drive the 91 at Talladega, top 20, by the was you, Jesse.
Should have been better, but it was like a parking lot, like coming up to I think in the last 2-3 laps, I was like, okay, it's time to go. And I'm like looking for a way, and I'm like, okay, let me get down in this lane. Okay, that's not working. Let me get to this lane. And no matter what I did, it was just a parking lot. Like, you couldn't go anywhere. No one was moving, and the only way you could gain spots is if your lane just moved up a bunch, which unfortunately your lane isn't going to go move up 10-15 spots. So it was crazy, but it was fun. I'm glad we got out of there clean. The car, the way you see it on that picture right there is the exact way it looks like right now, except a little bit rock chipped up and stuff. But besides that, there is not a single piece of damage on the car. We kept it clean all race. We didn't get into any mess. The car is ready to go for another race.
Oh, yeah, and it looks beautiful. And that 91 always looks great on the track, always seems to get some great results for DGM. And I bring that up because the next guy to drive the 91 at Talladega is this guy on my right, Mason Mash, has joined the Florida organization, the Florida driver, to drive that 91 at Talladega. Mason, meet Jesse. I'm sure you guys have already met before, maybe not. But, anything you'd like to say, Mason, taking over the honors of the 91. Now, 20th, you got to be 20th. You can't settle for any less than that. You have to continue the great legacy that Jesse's paving here for that car, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, shoot, I was working with Jesse a little bit that weekend. I was driving the 66 for MBM that weekend.
Yeah.
And, I remember I was working with Jesse a good
Yeah,
bit. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's super cool, to be able to work with Mario and that group. Obviously, like I said, I've known those guys for a long time, so it's really cool to be able to pilot the 91 and hopefully, carry on the legacy that Jesse has left on Talladega the last time he was there, and hopefully be able to get a good result for the team.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how that goes for sure. Talladega can be very treacherous, but we know that a lot of times when we talk to the drivers that are racing for, team owners like Mario, team owners like yourself, we talk about Alpha Prime, the Siegs, everyone in the Gases, right? Everyone in the back. The strategies kind of are the same, right? You want to play it safe. You want to let the big dogs fight it out in stage 1 and stage 2. You kind of want to race your own race. Maybe you go up there, but you're not going to do anything crazy. How is that dynamic, right? Where everyone kind of thinks, okay, super speedway race, you're just going to put balls to the wall the entire time. But no, there's a big strategy that goes into it. I mean, both of you guys, I'll go to Jesse first. How do you balance that, of wanting to really go up front and you want to go lead the race and everything, but you also got to play it cautious and wait till the end?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with with qualifying, right? So qualifying, you qualify where you qualify. At that point, you kind of determine what your strategy is going to be. If you do kind of halfway decent, you're kind of mid-pack, then it's you don't want to stay right there in the middle because that's where all the craziness happens. And even if it doesn't happen there, you just somehow get caught up in it, no matter what. If you qualify towards the back, then okay, you're just in the back and you just just kind of hang out and just chill and just wait till things happen and move forward. If you qualify closer up front, I mean, I've seen people qualify closer up front and then still just go to the backs and hang out. But if you're up front, sometimes it's just hey, just stay up there. I usually, I mean, if you can stay kind of in the, top 3 rows or so, for the most part, you're all right. It's right after that is where it gets crazy. And then you just got to make the decision. Do you really want to be there? Because at the end of the day, even if you're up there running 7th, 8th, 10th or something like that, in the middle of the race, is it really gaining you anything? I don't know. You're putting yourself at a massive risk. And at the end of the day, we want to, at the end of the race, be able to look back at the results and be where did I finish, right? You hate to see the DNF. Man, whether you led 100 laps in the race or whatever, the DNFs that suck. So it's you want to get to the end, and that's why I've always been told, in order to finish first, you must first finish. So you got to be there at the end. And when it gets to those last, I was 20 laps or so, 15 laps, at that point, you just strategically figure out, okay, who has been cool with me all race that I know I can trust to start moving forward, because not everybody is. All right, some people will be a-holes and they'll do things that mess up your race, whatever. So you just got to figure out who's been good to work with, and then you just start kind of working your way up, and you just finish where you finish. It's so hard to tell, no matter how fast your car is. It's just at the end, it's just anything can happen. Just be there when that checker flag drops.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, Mason, I mean, you've had a good super speedway track record this year, and 15th with Hettinger over in Daytona. I believe it was 22nd, right, at Dega with Carl Long, and then at Daytona, it was still top 15, right? Even though you kept it clean until the end, and then obviously
again in Joey's car,
yeah, and then obviously destruction happened on that final lap. But you did, to quote you after the race, cold trickle yourself, or try to cold trickle yourself through that wreck. But what can you attest to the same thing that Jesse was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, expect the unexpected, right? It's so tough to judge that. I hear all these different strategies when talking to different guys. There's some that believe, hey, I'm riding all the way through, and that's going to get me a good day. And then I've heard some guys that have said, hey, I'm going to the front. I'm banking on it, right? It's really tough to judge, especially in my situation as well as Jesse's situation, right? Where it's like you want to go up front, this is your opportunity, but at the same time, hey, I got to keep the car clean. Like this is going to, the very next super speedway race. And that's your opportunity to make up points. That's your opportunity to get the team a great finish. So it's a fine line. There's guys that have created a little bit of an art to it. There really is. People think it's just follow the leader, super speedway racing. No, there's an art to it. There's a way to kind of maneuver and look around it, and you see certain guys get the finishes that they get because there's an art to it, and they figured out that art. Me, not so much. I'm still working on it. Even though we've had some good results, I'm still trying to figure out how this super speedway thing works. But no, it's so crazy to try to predict the unpredictable. How some guys do it, I don't know, but I'm still trying to figure it out. It's definitely a fine line, especially in the timing of when to go, when not to go. And to make sure that you have the right people around you. You want to work with people that you trust and, are going to be there and, working with you throughout the race. So it's a really weird dynamic, super speedway racing is. But I think that's why people are so engaged with it, whether you're a driver or a fan. And it's why people love super speedway racing, is because you see guys that you wouldn't normally expect to see towards the front get up there. And on top of that, you just never know when you're going to see an underdog win or have a great day. And I think that's why people love super speedway racing so much, is because it creates such a dynamic of the top dogs and the underdogs racing so close together.
Yeah, exactly. And Jesse, I want to circle back a few years, when you were able to make this announcement. I know we already got a few questions in the chat about, what this deal meant to you. I mean, first of all, you've been able to wheel some great looking race cars. I remember that 34 car, I feel like, was looking good every week, whether it was you driving it or Weatherman driving it or, Andre Castro in the car, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. But I mean, just if you put into words, I mean, how cool was this announcement? You had been in the sport for a little bit. You've been in the cars for a long time. Obviously, I'm sure you've loved NASCAR for a while. To get to officially solidify yourself, as a team owner, and not only just, do it by yourself, but do it with Emmett Smith by your side and a lot of great partners, a lot of great people. How cool was it for you to make that happen?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Being able to partner with Emmett on it and make it happen. Also, our other partners too that we had. It was cool. It was really cool to kind of get the whole thing going and be like, man, we got like a real team. But like once we did it, it was like, oh crap, like we got a real team. Like we need to like actually really go race. We got to get people together. I mean, oh man, when we did that Hall of Fame announcement, man, if I'm not mistaken, we had just barely gotten all our people together. In fact, I believe we hired basically our core group of people who were going to start working on the cars and crew chief, this and that. We hired them maybe 3 or 4 weeks before Daytona. That's when we finally got everyone together. It was really tough, but we made it happen, and we got to Daytona with that car right there. In fact, that same car is the same super speedway car I just ran at Talladega earlier this year. But that thing has been running. That thing has been that's Old Faithful right there. No wrecks, thank God. And that thing has been running for a while. But we put it together very last second, but we made it happen. We ran that full year. It was a crazy. I mean, I think back to 2022. I'm like, that's how wild is it? How do we make that happen? We last second put together a NASCAR team and went out there and had some top 10 finishes. My best finish that year was 11th at Daytona, second Daytona, and then it was just crazy. I looking back, I'm like, man, it's so wild. And I'm a guy who I don't even come from racing really. I came from football. Played football in high school. Played football at the Naval Academy in college. Went to the Navy as an officer. Went on deployments, did all that stuff, and then after my second deployment, I was like, hey, I want to get into racing, crazy. And I made it happen. A few years later, all of a sudden I have a team, and it's just a wild story, but fun, and yeah, I mean, I haven't won any races yet, but man, it's just been fun just doing it, to be like, man, how do I go from being on a warship, like in the Middle East, sailing around, seeing, trying to dodge fishing boats and seeing some other crazy stuff and being part of some very interesting missions, and to do that, and then all of a sudden hop off of a multi-billion-dollar ship to a $100,000 race car. Like, it's just crazy. So it's been a really crazy journey, fun journey. Been super happy and blessed to even just be part of it. For me, I just want to race as long as I can and have as much fun as I can and get the best finishes that I can. And who knows? Maybe all the stars will align and I'm running at Daytona or Talladega, and everything just opens up and I see the gap. I'm like, oh my God, here's my first win. It'd be awesome. So at the end of the day, I just put it in God's hands, and He's just going to allow whatever needs to happen. And I'm here just to make the most of it, and then also use the platform to help inspire other people, other military people out there who are going after goals and dreams, whether it's racing, motorsports, or business, or whatever it is. I'm just hoping like my story helps propel people forward to say, hey, I can say yes to my goals, yes to my dreams. Because there's a lot of people out there scared to go after it. Like for me, it was like I was pretty much psycho to even try to do this, but like I didn't let it stop me. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna go after this and just do it. It's gonna work or it's not gonna work. But hopefully I can inspire others to go after their dreams that may seem impossible.
Yeah, 100%. I think you totally have. Your story, and from what you're saying, just from where you've come from, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when you talk about the deal of just hiring the crew right before Daytona, and people wouldn't have even known that, honestly, by just tuning on, watching the TV, with how fast that damn car was, first of all, and the great finishes you guys were able to get throughout the year. And I'm sure that year was a year, you will remember forever, with all the hurdles that you guys had to go through. But you talk about all the things that you've done in your life. I believe this is like one of your website headers or something like that. Blog right here. And I have a lot of fun, and we've had a lot of fun on this show all year, talking to people and finding out other things that they do, especially guys that race, in the lower series only part-time. We had our one of Mason's buddies, Jason Alexander, who was a lacrosse player in college, right?
Yeah.
And
he reached out to me when he was first getting into racing, and I was trying to do what I could to help him and at least give him information from my book of like, hey, this is generally how I went about it. From somebody who didn't come from racing. Everybody has their own journey, right? But I was like, you take some nuggets from what I did, and hopefully it works. And now, he's gotten to race a little bit.
Yeah, no, and it's cool to see people live those double lives or triple lives, right? Some people got day jobs, and then they're going out racing on the weekends. Those are interesting stories that you don't see covered all the time. And I think certainly this is, one of the most intriguing of them all, right? Obviously, being in the Navy, being a Navy football player, and then being in NASCAR. Do you have people that you talk to occasionally, or people that have ever reached out to you that are former football players that get in NASCAR? Obviously, a lot of them are, crew members. We've seen some people invest in the sport, obviously, like Emmitt Smith. But a lot of the crew members we know are former college football players, NFL football players. Do those guys ever reach out to you? And just, whether they're asking for stuff or they're just saying, hey man, we both used to play football, now we're in NASCAR. Is that cool?
You know what? I haven't really. I do know a bunch of obviously pit crew members who have played football and stuff. We hardly ever talk about it though. Like we hardly ever talk about the football. So it'd probably be pretty interesting to, get all former college football players, even NFL players who are now in the NASCAR sport, get us together and just like, I don't know, do something. I think it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, it's really awesome to kind of see that cross pollination right there. People coming from different angles and getting into the motorsport world. For me, I just saw it as, I've always liked cars since I was a little kid, and I never thought I would get into the real racing. I just like cars. And then, in college, when I would have time at the Naval Academy, I would watch. YouTube was still kind of new, and I was like watching all these like Top Gear videos or whatever on YouTube, and I watched those, and I got super excited about cars. I started learning about racing a little bit, and then it was the only reason I even went the stock car route was somebody I met who actually ended up working for us, Kyle Wisner. I met him like in 2014, and he's the one who introduced me into the stock car world. Like I met him at at a big car show, and he was part of the SRT experience, giving ride-alongs and stuff. And they had a bunch of tires over there, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can get some of those extra sets of tires that they have, like the used ones, and then use it to just do some drift stuff and burnout stuff just for fun with my Challenger I had at the time. And they're like, oh no, we can't give these away. But I was talking to him about just cars and stuff, and he just generally could feel that I was like very interested in the car world and even racing. And we split ways, and then like I went to go use the porta potty like later on during the day, and he happened to be in the one that I was waiting on to use. He comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you from earlier. And then his like first words was like, hey, you know what? Like, would you be interested in like getting into racing, like maybe stock cars or something like that? I'm like, holy crap, how do you know I want to get into racing? And then it went from there. I went and did a test with his late model team, and one thing led to another, and then boom, years still yeah. Many years later, I'm here doing this. So yeah, it's been a wild one.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on with you, and as I've discovered, you got a child coming soon.
Yeah, in January.
How about that?
First one, yeah, it's going to be a boy too. So who knows what he's going to like? I don't know, racing, football, baseball. I don't know. I didn't play baseball.
He's going to be a cup champion.
Yeah, who knows? I'm gonna put everything in front of him, and we'll see what he thinks. Football would be nice because it's definitely a lot cheaper. But racing is cool. If he wants to go racing, we'll go figure out. If he wants to, become the next Formula Drift champion, I'll teach him how to drift too as well. I think whatever I need to teach him, I'll just teach him and help him out, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's gonna be a whole other journey.
Yeah, man, excited to see it. And I'll swing it over to Mason here. Mason, anything you got? Talladega.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, just gonna try to carry on the torches of Talladega. But no, Jesse, it's so cool to hear your story and to be able to, get all these different perspectives, right? Not just Jesse Iwuji, the race car driver, but Jesse Iwuji, the team owner, the Navy officer. It's so cool, hearing your story and being able to see, what you've done, how far you've come. And, being able to inspire others. And that's really cool, about how, Jason Alexander's story is entwined. I'm not sure a whole lot of people know this, but, yeah, when Jason first started racing, his car caught on fire, and my dad had to pull him out of the car.
Oh,
so yeah, it's crazy.
Late model or?
Yeah, it was a late model race,
yeah.
And I was still running late model races at the time, but no, it's really cool hearing about your journey, and we appreciate you coming on the show, taking the time to talk with us, and hopefully we'll see you at some races here before the end of the year. And congrats on the new little man coming onto the scene in January. That's obviously super exciting, and a whole other chapter that's going to be unlike any other. Way bigger than racing, way bigger than football. So that's really, really cool for you. So we're super excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. Yeah, good luck. Like Talladega, have fun, be patient, and good things will happen. Just stay out of the mess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to keep it clean. So, Jesse, we appreciate you coming on very much here. Appreciate you always having on my stuff. I mean, I think the first interview I probably did with you was like 5 years ago, probably at this point. So glad we've always somewhat kept in touch. Your people are great. The Castros are great. And appreciate you getting this all set up, and we will certainly talk soon.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, everybody have a good night, and we'll talk later.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right, that is Jesse Iwuji. Amazing guy, amazing interview, as always. Brings great vibes, always. It's awesome talking to him, whether it's at the track or just here on the stream. Thankfully, I believe every different show I've had, he's one of those few guys that's been on every single one. So before we capped off the year here, especially with you getting in the 91 car this week, and I thought it was only fitting that we brought Jesse Iwuji on here. Next week, we got a pretty solid show planned up. Mason Maggio will be there at least at some point, maybe at 7 o'clock, because I'll be here streaming 2 hours. All right, it's going to be a 6 to 8 p.m. show. It's going to be big. We're going to have a variety of guests on, and I believe my sources are telling me it's going to be headlined by a guy that I believe had his best career finish this weekend or something. Nonetheless, he goes by the name Corey Day. He's been setting the world on fire. Kyle Larson's protege, they say. Will be joining us. Shout out to Hendrick Motorsports for allowing him to come on the Motor Stardom show. So that's going to be fun. Definitely one of our bigger guests, or at least guests that we can certainly watch down the road and say, hey, we got to talk to him at an early point in his career. So Corey Day will be opening the show next week, right at 6 p.m. Eastern time, ripe. And then we'll just see what other people come on after that. We'll see. I want to try something here. The chat. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Shout out Christian. Christian Riley is here. Nathan, Checkered Flag, Dan, as always. Everybody watching the stream. I want to see how does it look when I put the chat on stream. Oh, it's only new. Oh wow, that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
We're experimenting here. Oh, now Mason's small. Okay.
Oh man,
Oh,
I'm still
now
small.
Mason's on
Just
top
in
of
the
me.
corner.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Guess the chat's freaking ginormous, but you know,
I can read it.
I know
can
we
read
can.
it.
It's a chat. We can do this.
We
when
can
we're
all
just,
read
you know,
it. It's perfect.
when it's just two of us, and now everything they put on this in the chat is going to come up on the screen. So watch what you say. But anyways, thank you guys as always for tuning in to the Motor Stardom show. It's always a great time. Glad to be back here with Mason Maggio here on a Tuesday night. As I said, we got some fun stuff planned for next week. It's going to be very exciting to see who comes on, what vibes we have. And it's Talladega this weekend, man. We got a triple header. We got Truck Series on Friday again. Then we got the Xfinity Series on Saturday, and then the Cup Series on Sunday. I mean, I don't mind the non-doubleheader anymore on Saturdays. That always just ended in chaos, and then the Xfinity race would get shortened to darkness. Shout out Brandon Brown. You know, don't know what you're up to right now, but shout out Brandon Brown. Met him. I've told the story a few times, but met the guy for the first time. Tommy Joe Martins single-handedly was like, I want you to meet Brandon Brown at Talladega. Walked me up to Brandon, met him. They were haulers were next to each other. They were next to each other on pit road. They started next to each other. And I met Brandon. It was like, pleasure to meet you. He was a great guy. He went on and won the race. And then that was the end of his career. So certainly unfortunate. Do hope he gets back in a race car at some point for at least a one-off. I mean, there's talk about Landon Castle maybe doing something next year. Let's get Brandon Brown out too, you know? So we'll see. But, any last words of wisdom before you take the track at Talladega and try to notch your third or fourth straight top 25 on a super speedway?
Yeah, I would say hopefully come away with a great day in the 91 and hopefully get another solid finish in the top 15, top 10 to 20 range. That's always the goal. Bring it home clean, give it my best shot, learn all day. And then as soon as the checkered flag falls, I'm heading straight to the boulevard with a beer in my hand. So that is not a what if, that is a promise, damn it. Yeah, I mean, no, in all seriousness, I'm really looking forward to working with DGM and the 91 crew. Definitely excited for Talladega this weekend. Like I said, hopefully we come away with a good result, clean car, and have something to celebrate at the end of the day. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the rest of the year as well. But yeah, no, great to be back on the Motor Stardom show. Been a weird couple of Tuesdays not being on, but excited to be back. We got some cool stuff that me and RJ are cooking up over the next couple of weeks before season's end. And we're excited to have you guys back and along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll sign us off here. Obviously, my first year running a media company, right? All this PR shit, but it's been a great year, right? There were three people, right? It was myself, it was you, Stephen Malazzi. Unfortunately, going forward, you know, as great as the trio was, as fun as it was, unfortunately, stuff happens as well as other offers come in as well. And, you know, Stephen Malazzi won't be joining us anymore here on the Motor Stardom show. We hate it, right? We've had such a fun time this year. I've had such a fun time this year. I know everybody watching has had an amazing time this year. Our trio was certainly unmatched in my opinion. And that was something that I wanted to create, you know, with this show. I wanted to create something raw, unfiltered, fun, but also informative, right? Talking to the amazing guests that we've had on this year, you know, and we've thankfully had a lot of loyal viewers, a lot of partial viewers that have come in throughout the year, and just, you know, whether you just watched the Ricky Stenhouse episode or whether you just watched, you know, the Tommy Joe episode that we started off with, or even just now at Jesse Iwuji, no matter what you are, we appreciate you. And I'm glad that it's come as far as it has. You know, I had a lot of mini goals to start out this year, and one of them was certainly to create something like this. And now there's a lot of things with Motor Stardom, just even outside the show, with the brand itself, with the website, with the content being posted, that I'm super excited to get to this offseason. It's been a long season. I joked with Mason and others that I never, while I'm not there every week still, I don't even know close to what they're feeling. I kind of understand it now, right? When you get to the end of the season, you're kind of relief. When I was growing up, I didn't want the season in the end. I wish NASCAR would run 50, million weeks a year, but it certainly can get to a point where you're ready for the off season. You're ready to have some weekend freedom, and you're certainly, I'm just ready to be able to kind of just to lock in, and there's going to be so much, anything, what I can promise you guys, there's going to be so much awesome stuff coming next year, for the brand, for this show, for live content, taped content, real content, whatever you consume the most, it's going to be there. So really excited. Thanks to everybody that's made it possible. Obviously, thanks for Steven for joining us all year. Thanks for Mason for being here as well and letting me sleep on his couch. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for everybody that supports, that makes it happen. Thanks for Chris Gollin as well for supporting, writing for the website, getting this RSJ, communicating with their PR. That was a great episode for us, and all the drivers and teams that make it happen. I can't thank them enough. I'm blessed to be able to have gained the trust of majority of the teams and drivers in the garage areas that they're down to kind of step out of their comfort zone and come on this show and have some fun. So it's been a great year. Thank you, everybody. Checkered Flag Dan says you need a call-in number. That would be, hey, if you guys want to throw in suggestions for next year, man, please just let me know. DM me, say what's up. Whether you DM this Motor Stardom or email me or just RJ Starts on Instagram too or Twitter. Just hit me up. Let me know. If you got suggestions for next year, please let me know. It's going to be a good time. I'm definitely open up. Something I wanted to do this year. Maybe we'll do it before we sign off for the season. Was have people literally join the stream. Like, I'll put a link, and instead of calling in, I guess that would be the way of calling in. But you literally just join the stream, and we'll talk on here, give your hot take or something like that. Maybe we'll do that as like some random episode during the off season. I don't know. Does that sound like fun, Mason?
That sounds like chaos, and I'm here for it.
Sounds a little scary, which means we're going to do it.
I just know that we're going to have somebody coming on here, kind of like some of those unfiltered Stephen A. callers that come in. I feel like we're going to have our own version of that, but I'm here for it because we're here to not only talk about NASCAR and be informative with it, but we're here to have fun. That is the big part of this show that we try to embrace the most. Is having fun, and you guys make it even more fun for us when you say some out of pocket and unfiltered stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. To an extent, we do have boundaries though.
Yeah, to an extent. So we certainly have to watch the boundaries. But anyways, thank you guys as always for tuning in to the show. It means a lot. I'm gonna go get behind the wheel of a truck on iRacing and do the Venom Truck Series as I usually do. I think I'm like 20th in points. I don't know, but it's my one racing throw of the week until I can drive Cesar Baccarella's late model at New Smyrna. So thank you guys all tuning in. Mace Maggio's racing this weekend at Talladega. He's driving the 91 car for DGM. The music's not working or else I would play it. I'm RJ Starcevic. Run Motor Stardom. It's a good time. Can't wait for these last 3 weeks of the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will see you guys next week at 6 o'clock. Be here. Corey Day will be joining us. He's going to have a lot of awesome stuff to say. We'll have some people after that, too. We're going to have a good time.